Democrats are now trying to figure out their options to investigate the most serious domestic attack on the Capitol since the Civil War. That's after Senate Republicans blocked the creation of an independent bipartisan commission to examine the origin of that day's violence. This is just an example of the gridlock holding up legislation in Congress on just about every issue, including infrastructure. Republican Senator Shelley Moore Capito headed to the White House again today to meet with the president one-on-one to try to find a bipartisan path forward. But with a 50-50 balance in the Senate and 60 votes needed to get anything to the floor, compromise looks hard to find, even harder when the acknowledged leader of the Republican Party, the former president, is calling the current administration illegitimate and saying he will be back in office this summer. The New York Times' Maggie Haberman writes, quote, Trump has been telling a number of people he's in contact with that he expects he'll get reinstated by August. New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman joins us now. She's a Washington correspondent for The Times and a CNN political analyst. Maggie, I have to say, when you wrote that, my eyes popped. I was stunned. The former president is telling people he expects to be reinstated by August. What's going on here?
So, John, what he's doing is echoing things that are being said by Sidney Powell, who was his lawyer, although, you know, he distanced himself from her at certain points over the final months of the administration, but she was helping advise him on these efforts to overturn the election last year. This is being said by Mike Lindell, the CEO of MyPillow, who has been pushing this for some time. He's echoing what they're saying. The difference between them saying it and Donald Trump saying it is one is the former president, one is a possible future party nominee. Even given all of his legal troubles, if he ran for president again, he would still have a very good shot at the nomination. And this is something that some of his supporters will hear and take seriously when he says it. There is no legal mechanism by which this can happen. There are people who are telling him things are possible that are not possible, which is exactly what we saw happen after the November 3rd election last year, which was all the lead up to January 6th, as we know, and what we saw in the attack on the Capitol. And so there is a dangerous component about this conversation that's going on. And I think one thing that is jarring about our current news environment, John, is that there is a separation between what literally, and this sort of choose your own adventure of news has gotten worse progressively over time. Democrats who support Joe Biden don't want to hear anything about Donald Trump. And because Donald Trump is not on Twitter anymore, they think, therefore, he doesn't really exist, except he does really exist strongly in this right-wing ecosystem. It is true he's not on Twitter. It's true he's not on Facebook. He can't direct followers the same way he did. He's also going to start appearing publicly again. And so the public really needs to be aware this is something that he has been saying to a number of people. And the other thing he's been doing, John, I should just note, he has been trying, you know, as he spent a long time during 2017 trying to get advisors to say, fire Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, because he didn't want to do it himself. He has been trying to get conservative writers to publish, you know, in a more mainstream way that this election was, quote unquote, stolen from him, his repeated false claim about that, to try to legitimize it, to try to get people to call attention to this. You know, these things may not matter. They also could have consequences.
You mentioned Sidney Powell, the president's former lawyer, Maggie, that he is echoing what she is saying. This is what she said at a QAnon conference over the weekend.
There are cases where elections have been overturned, but there's never been one at the presidential level, which everybody will jump to point out. That doesn't mean that it can't be done. It should be that he can simply be reinstated, that a new inauguration date is set. And Biden is told to move out of the White House, and and President Trump should be moved back in.
So of note here, Sidney Powell is at this moment being sued for defamation to the tune of $1.3 billion. And you can't make this up because her legal team is arguing, quote, no reasonable person would believe her lies about the election. Now, that said, a lot of people, whether you want to say they're reasonable or not, do believe it. How coordinated is this, considering we're hearing the former president say it, we're hearing it at a conference like this?
Look, I think that the idea of it being a plot, I think, is overstating the level of strategy here, and again, doability. Remember, this is not something for which there is a provision in the Constitution. It is really important to note this is not how this works. That having been said, in terms of the ability to ignite supporters of the former president, particularly the QAnon network, particularly people in a certain segment of the internet, it is real. And so, is Trump regurgitating what he's hearing from Lindell and what he's hearing Sidney Powell say and some others say? I think that is what this is. He has been told by a number of advisors that he has to stop focusing on this. It is part of why he is so laser focused on these quote-unquote audits in Arizona, and he's been trying to get them in other states because he thinks they're going to overturn the elections. One of the things that he has said to a couple of people is, and a part of this he has said publicly, is, if you catch somebody stealing a Tiffany diamond, you got to give the diamond back. And then in another iteration, it's he can't understand why Mitch McConnell doesn't support this because McConnell will become majority leader again once these races are all overturned. That just tells you about where this is going. I just want to, again, make clear, none of that is happening and none of that is possible. But this is the kind of thing that he is trying to flush into the conservative media ecosystem, and he is saying to his supporters, and I expect it to get more intense the more he is under investigation by the Manhattan District Attorney and the State Attorney General in New York, and the threat of indictment over the coming months.
Look, it's madness. That's my word, not yours. It's also dangerous. I mean, we saw an insurrection on January 6th based on lies. This is just pure madness. And Maggie, I've been surprised over the last 20 hours or so at how you've been attacked for even reporting this. And I can't quite figure out why people are upset. And the reason it's important is this is the guy who is the leader of the Republican Party right now, acknowledged leader by most people in the Republican Party. So you have the leader of the party, a former president, saying something that can only, I would think, lead to incite violence, and if not incite violence, at least, obscure everything else that party is currently doing.
The word you used, incitement, John, is important. I mean, this basically, as one person put it to me yesterday privately, this is an ongoing incitement. And I think that there is a valid reason to use that term. Why people are attacking me for reporting the news, this has always been a bit of a mystery. But regardless, as I said before, I think people are in their own media ecosystems. And I think that there are a lot of people around Biden and a lot of people who support Biden who want to pretend that, if they call Trump the former guy and if you don't say his name, that the only thing that would matter is if you give him attention. He's the former president. He is in control of the Republican Party to a big extent. People in that party are having a big debate that I would say is parallel to what we saw in 2015, which was how do you deal with Trump, who, according to Republican leaders at the time, for the most part, had no chance of becoming the Republican nominee, and obviously that didn't work out. Ignoring him was not the answer in 2015. Will it be the answer now? I guess we're going to find out. But he still does have control over a segment of the party. And I think what a former president and possible future nominee, as unlikely as that might be at the moment, is saying is newsworthy.
Yeah, look, and there are people, Republicans, flocking to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring of a guy who is saying that he expects to be president again by August, which is madness. And that's really, truly why it matters so much. Maggie Haberman, really interesting reporting. We appreciate you joining us.